92 degrees here at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. Happy Tuesday. Sorry, happy Wednesday. I know what day it is today. Hope you guys are enjoying your afternoon. Hope you had a great day so far today. Got a couple of special liveries up here tonight. Alaska 216 lining up for departure, heading out on runway 24 left this afternoon up here. Got our UPS 767 heavy inbound in the next couple of minutes. Well, special liveries today as well. In fact, we got a special livery inbound. It's the United Retro inbound. Check this out. The United Airlines Friendship Retro livery touching down this afternoon. Airbus A320. Kicks off a pretty nice day up here today. Slight chance of some showers later on today, but I think for the most part we should be pretty good. And looking across the field, I see another special livery. I don't know if it's leaving today. The United Star Alliance 737 is sitting over there. The United was flight 1934. It just came in from Houston. A few other inbound flights. Air Canada Jazz 647 inbound from Montreal. Southwest Flight 224 inbound from Nashville. And UPS 5442, our heavy 767 out of Louisville, Kentucky today. There's Jazz. Got something going on in New York as well. Got a few flights that are circling. We'll see if we catch any diversions today. Looks like a 737 diverted in when I was on my way up here. So we'll see. We'll see if anything comes in today. I get my ducks in a row here. Delta 737 taxiing into its gate. Just came in from Atlanta a few minutes ago. Tomorrow we're supposed to start seeing the effects of some of the wildfire smoke up in Canada. Seen some absolutely horrific video of some of those fires. A really popular one going around right now was taken inside of a train. There's also some video I saw from Niagara Falls where everything is just bright orange again. So thinking about everyone dealing with the fires and the first responders who are doing everything they can to try to put those fires out. We're supposed to start dealing with the effects of that smoke tomorrow. So we'll see what the atmospheric conditions look like over the next couple of days. It's supposed to go to thunder over Michigan this weekend, but we'll see what happens with that weather. Also saw with the F4 Phantom canceled, which I think if we've been paying attention to that. If you've been watching that news, probably not a huge surprise, but still hoping to go out there and see the red arrows, but we'll see what the weather does. Southwest touching down.
That's 5,
Definitely a scorcher up here today. See, Argentina won their World Cup semifinal against England a few minutes ago. So we'll see England versus Spain in the World Cup final. .767 flight, 5442 for UPS inbound from Louisville. Back to the regular 767 operations for UPS after about a month or so of mostly just seeing 757s. I'm glad that we're starting to see the 767s up here again. We'll have FedEx a little bit later on tonight with their 767. Flight 761, I think it is, out of Memphis. Should have a couple of more special liveries tonight as well. And who knows what else we might see tonight. Got lots of flights going into Oshkosh and then up into Michigan as well for Thunder. So you never know, something might swing by on the way to get some fuel. Decent amount of military activity I've seen out there today, so maybe something will come in and do a pass for us or something tonight. That Navy 760 or 737, I think it flies under the Wolf Call sign. I saw it at a touch and go at Akron Canton yesterday. So, hey, you never know. Maybe something will come in today. Brandon is here, says, sorry I'm late. I started early, so you're not really late. When I saw that retro was coming in, I wanted to go live so we can catch it for you. Back on the 24s tonight. Both runways are open, 24 left and 24 right. So I'm glad that the Dubai 747, when they left the other day, did not do any damage to the runway or anything like that. When they were here in February, they had all that snow and it took out some of the landing. I guess from what I hear, it took out some of the landing lights and whatnot around the runway. And so 2-4 right, 2-4 left, 6 right was closed for quite a while after that. But now we're back to, you know, it's summer. We don't really deal with that right now. At least that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but that runway was definitely closed for a while back in February after the 747 left. They were back over the weekend. And we'll see when they come back again. Pretty much exactly 6 months after they left. So I'm wondering if whoever it was came back for like a 6-month appointment or something like that. So we'll see if it's another 6 months before they come back, or if we see the Dubai Air Wing make a return here sooner. Here's our 767, beautiful lighting on it tonight as they taxi over to the UPS ramp. So like a ground stop out at JFK causing some of the issues. Pretty chaotic couple of days up here. On Monday, we had the Union Pacific's Big Boy, the largest steam locomotive in the world, came through Rocky River, heading out through across western Ohio into Indiana. So I came up on my lunch break on Monday. I went over to Lorain County Airport to see the C-54 take off. Thank you to whoever it was in the chat who let me know when that was going to be. I was hoping to catch the C-54 and then maybe come back and try to catch the train. The C-54 left late, so I went up to Vermilion, was able to catch up to it. I got one really quick shot of it, but I actually had originally thought about maybe chasing it out to Fostoria, but it was about a 2-hour drive from Vermilion and decided not to do that. So I thought maybe I'll go out to Bucyrus or something like that. And there were just, you know, hundreds and hundreds of cars that were just chasing this thing, and people weren't paying attention. And so I got out to about Sandusky, and I thought that was good enough. Kind of I guess not really Sandusky, but kind of out that way. I thought, all right, that's good enough. So I decided to turn around and come back. Originally, I had planned on taking yesterday off work and going to Fostoria to see the open house that they had. But from what I saw on Facebook, it sounded like that was an absolute disaster just because of the amount of people that were trying to get there. And it just doesn't seem like it was very well organized. And heard a lot of stories of people who waited on the roads for hours to try to get in and eventually were turned away. So I just got a quick shot of it. Didn't get anything great. I know a lot of people out there got some really cool shots of the train, but glad to see the C-54. That was really cool to see that up close, and got some really good video of that. I think I'll get posted for you guys, and had a good time with that. I mostly follow aircraft, so it makes more sense to chase the airplane anyways, but a vintage airliner and a Warbird, pretty cool to see it. American inbound. A little late on that one. I should have been ready to go. So instead, just did some extra work, took our 1-year-old to his 15-month appointment, and that's been about it. So, but I am jealous of everyone who got to see the train up close. It would have been pretty neat to see that. Lots of stuff going on this weekend if you're in the area. Out in Toledo at Toledo Express Airport, the Commemorative Air Force is doing another fly-in. So another opportunity to see the B-17 Sentimental Journey B-25 Made in the Shade. And the B-29 Fifi will be there as well. So 3 World War II bombers you could see out in Toledo this weekend if you're in the area. There's also the Freedom fly-in down in Marysville at Union County Airport. If you're down in that area, there'll be some Warbirds and a few other aircraft down there. So if you're down by the Marysville area, go check that out. And of course, Thunder over Michigan up at Ypsilanti's Willow Run Airport is this weekend as well. Got a fly-in in Mansfield on August 1st that if you're down in that area, you may want to check out. The Tri-State Warbirds B-25 out of Cincinnati will be there. I think there's a C-47 giving rides in Port Clinton this weekend as well. So lots of aviation action out there for you guys this weekend and over the next few weeks if you're interested in chasing any of those aircraft. Or the next month at Acton Fulton Airport will be the Props and Pistons Festival, which has a pretty decent lineup this year. Featuring most notably the F-16 Viper demo team making an appearance in Akron. So lots of stuff going on over the next few weeks. If you're interested in aviation, try to get there to check it out. Discover Aviation Lorraine was this past weekend. Went out there for a little bit. Took the 1-year-old, so I was only out there for a couple of hours, but saw the pink jet fly, saw the aircraft that we wanted to see. It's always a really nice event that they have out there in Lorraine. It's only $10 to get in this year per car, so you can have as many people in your car as you wanted. $10 to park, free to get in. And always a neat assortment of general aviation, aircraft, warbirds, some law enforcement aircraft, light flight helicopter was there, food trucks, classic car show. Always a good time out there. So hope to see you guys out in Lorraine next year. Pink jet was a really nice gift for them too. It was cool to see that. I got some nice pictures of the pilot. They did the flight of the flag, so I got a nice shot of her holding the flag, and really neat event that they had going on. Frontier lining up for departure. Frontier's flight 1491 heading to Tampa. United 2476 is inbound from Denver. Brandon said, down in Myrtle Beach for the 4th of July weekend, with my family, were greeted by an Air Force flyover along the coastline. You may have heard about the helicopters on the news. I did see that. Was it that they were too close to the crowd? Is that why they got in trouble for that? I did hear about that. It was pretty wild. Hope we had a good time down in Myrtle Beach. I was down in DC and it was about 1,000,000 degrees, so being near the water would have been nice. There's a video going around right now of the Blue Angels where it looks like one of the solos got way too close to the crowd as well. Close enough that the wake blew over a bunch of stuff and knocked people down and whatnot. So I think that was maybe at Oceana, I'm not really sure, but got some crazy flying out there for sure. Of course, we'll see the Blues here in a few weeks at the Cleveland National Air Show. Frontier on their way to Tampa. Got some breaking news with Frontier that came out yesterday. They're finally going to install Wi-Fi on their aircraft next year, going with Starlink. So Frontier finally joining everyone in the 21st century. That'll make those flights a little less uncomfortable. I always preferred Spirit to Frontier, and that was one of the main reasons why. So I'm glad to see that they're finally adding Wi-Fi onto their flights. I'll pay the extra $5 or whatever it'll be for a ticket to have some Wi-Fi. $10, whatever it'll be. Delta A220 sitting over there. It'll be flight 1449 back to Minneapolis here in a little bit. Few inbound flights. We got United out of Denver. Got United Express 3488 out of Washington Dulles. Another United flight 2172 inbound from Newark. Definitely a warm one up here today, though. Definitely a warm one. gotta do a better job of catching the arrivals for you tonight. I got a tree off to my left and catching them a little late. United rolling out, 2176, I think was a flight number for that. 737 inbound from Denver. Brandon says, I like Cleveland Hopkins, but do you wish it was bigger and busier like Chicago or Dulles? Absolutely. Well, I'll say this, from a photography standpoint, yes, I wish it was bigger and busier. From a passenger standpoint, no. Those airports, as much as I enjoy going to those airports, and I've been to both of them several times, you know, you got to plan for them, you got to get through security, you got to make sure you get on the train to go to your terminal, and you know, there's just a lot more that goes into it, a lot more chances for delays. So where Hopkins, I could pretty much show up, I have pre-check, I can usually show up about 25 minutes or so before my flight, get through security. Even if I don't have pre-check, I can usually still get through in an hour or so at the most. I don't think I've ever had to wait more than 45 minutes for security. If I get through security, get a bite to eat, go get on my gate, don't have to walk 20 miles and you know, head out to wherever I'm going. So from a passenger standpoint, I appreciate the size. From a photography standpoint, I definitely wish it was busier. It's just at Dulles last week and missed seeing the wide bodies and all the international stuff and whatnot for sure. Hopefully we'll get back down there later this year and actually do a spotting video, maybe even a live stream down there. Didn't do it this time just because the goal was to get downtown and see the flyovers, but hopefully we'll get back down there at some point. I very much enjoy going to Dulles. I enjoy going to O'Hare as well. Both are great airports to visit. Both have some really great spots. Dulles is probably my favorite airport to go to for a day trip because it's a pretty short, pretty easy flight, and you got the Uvar Hazy Center as well. So if you need to get inside or if you want to avoid the weather or whatever, you can go inside there. And if the airplanes are coming in that way as well, you can get some really nice shots. United Express Flight 3488, speaking of Washington Dulles, E175 inbound, followed by United 2172 out of Newark. A little later on, Aer Lingus 9 Alpha Romeo, Airbus A321neo out of Dublin is about 15 minutes out. We have American Eagle 5132 out of Washington Reagan National. American Eagle 5862 out of Philadelphia, about 35 minutes out for those two aircraft. FedEx 361 Heavy is 39 minutes out with the 767-300. We have Frontier 3232 is a half hour out. A321neo out of Las Vegas. After that, a little farther out, we have United Flight or Southwest Flight 30 out of Las Vegas. They're an hour out. American Eagle 1682 is a little over an hour out as well, out of Dallas Fort Worth. Delta 1339 737-900 out of Atlanta is an hour 4 minutes out. Frontier 4036 just now taking off from Atlanta. Another Frontier Flight 1492 will be inbound from Tampa here in a little over an hour. Frontier Flight 9457 out of Fort Lauderdale is an hour and a half out. A couple other aircraft to keep an eye on later today. We have a Skyway Aviation Citation out of Teterboro. Just took off. They're about 45 minutes out. A SkyQuest Hawker out of Teterboro following them. So we got some inbound flights, a little bit of a gap maybe, but we got some inbound flights today. Of course, we'll have our departures. We have the United Retro, Friendship Retro livery here. We'll see that depart in a little bit. And taxiing out for departure right now, we have United 1645, 737 MAX 9 heading to Houston. And we have an Embraer Phenom taxiing out from Atlantic. That was rough. Watching a departing flight, not the arriving flight. Here's our MAX 9. Last night was also the last night that we'll have sunsets after 9 o'clock until next June. Our days will be getting shorter and shorter as we get into the colder months up here in northeastern Ohio. So one United heading out, we got another United heading in. It's 737 out of Newark. There they are. As United rolls out, we'll go ahead and follow that Embraer Phenom that's lining up for departure. NetJet's flight. See, he's still on the ground by the time they get past the building here. Delta 737 taxiing this way now. I think this might have been a flight maybe that diverted in earlier. Nah, I think it may be Delta flight. Delta 880 heading back to Atlanta.
Turn 10 degrees right, descend maintain 4,000, airlift it. Delta 2087, ground picture. 45, contact Cleveland Center, 135.1. Golf Echo, descend maintain 7,000. Golf Echo from it, descend to maintain 7,000. Zero 4, contact Cleveland Center, 134.9er. Alpha Romeo, 7 miles from Shirk, cross Shirk at 3,000, cleared ILS runway 2 132, expect direction.
Delta 737 on their way out.
Right.
Southwest pushing back.
5132, proceed direction, descend maintain 3,000.
There's the Southwest. On the other side of our lights, flight 2887 will be heading to Denver, 737 MAX 8. Aer Lingus over downtown, turning final soon. Flight 9 Alpha Romeo inbound from Dublin.
5132, 6 miles from Shirk, cross Shirk at 3,000, cleared ILS runway 24 red first.
Brandon's asking, have I flown on the Concorde and are you optimistic about Boom's Overture aircraft? I'm not old enough to have flown on the Concorde. I do remember it as a kid. I never got to see it fly. They were supposed to have come to Cleveland back in the year 2000. I think it was August or September of that year to do a charter on an Air France, I think it was an Air France Concorde. And unfortunately that got canceled after the accident. So that would have been the closest I would have got a chance to see it, assuming my parents would have brought me up to have seen it. But no, I never got to see it fly. I've seen one in the museum, but never got to see it fly. One of life's great regrets, I think, would be I never got to see a Concorde, and I never got to see an SR-71 fly. As far as the Boom's Overture aircraft, they might have a future, I think, as a business jet, but I would be surprised if they make it in the airline as an airliner. It seems like they're still going to, I mean, from what I remember reading, it's been a while, that they need to design not only the airplane but the engines as well. Again, I could be totally wrong. This is just what I'm trying to remember. But it sounds like they needed to develop the aircraft and the engines. I think they have a demonstrator that's flying, but you still got to figure out the economic problems. You know, Concorde was banned from flying over land because of the noise, so you got to figure that out. And it's still the fuel economy and whatnot. I mean, there's a reason why we see airlines today have gone away from your wide body tri-jets, you know, quad jets, even, you know, domestic wide body service. A lot of those flights have been replaced with long range narrow bodies. In fact, we have an international flight inbound from Dublin, you know, coming in from Europe. And that's not on a 747 or something like that. It's an A321neo. So I think the industry has really pushed more and more for efficiency and economy. And I have a hard time believing that Boom will make it happen, but I hope they do. I'd love to see it. But I think this is the future. We're going to continue to see longer and longer range, higher and higher capacity narrow body aircraft like the 321neo, the 737 MAX, and whatever comes after that. Even your wide bodies, the 777 pretty much eliminated the 747 and A380 on those long range, high capacity routes. And now we're even seeing those airplanes being replaced with even higher range aircraft like the A350 and the 787. So I'd love to see it. I just don't know if the economics of it is going to work out. I think from a business jet standpoint, you might see it because they don't really care, it seems like. I mean, we already got supersonic business jets out there right now, so you might see it that way, but I don't know if it'll ever actually go into passenger service. I know airlines have signed, you know, agreements to purchase them. But if you go back to the 60s and 70s, a lot of airlines signed up to purchase a Concorde. You know, here in the United States, Pan Am purchased Concorde, TWA purchased the Concorde. I think American, United, Delta might have purchased it. I mean, a lot of airlines purchased it, but they did not ultimately take delivery of that aircraft. And wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens with the Boom jet. But even with the Concorde, of course, was developed, co-financed by the British and French government. And their flagship airlines, Air France and British Airways, were under the thumb of the government. So they were pretty much forced to buy those airplanes. No such thing here in the States. In fact, if you remember, Boeing was trying to develop their own supersonic aircraft back in those days, the 2707, and put most of their top guys and top teams and funding into trying to develop that airplane. The 747 was kind of a side project that they figured out, we'll sell a few of these as airliners, but we're going to make it a freighter because we feel like the future of this airplane is probably in cargo. That's why the 747 has the hump. That's because Boeing believed in it more as a freighter than a passenger airplane. And ultimately, it wasn't the Concorde that became the airplane of the 70s. It was the 747. Airlines too just don't really have the budget to mess around with stuff. Like when they buy stuff, it pretty much has to work. We saw the Pratt & Whitney engine issues that have, you know, really impacted especially the low-cost carriers with the A320neo series. I mean, that was one of the big nails in Spirit Airlines' coffin, right? The issues that they had with the Pratt & Whitney engines on their new neo fleet. grounded a good chunk of that fleet. Some of those airplanes never flew again. They're still sitting out in the desert, waiting for their fate. And some of them will never even leave the desert. There's been a few of those, 7, 8-year-old 320 Neos that have already been scrapped. That were former Spirit Airlines aircraft. So airlines just don't have the budget to wait on experimental aircraft anyway. So I would be very happy and very excited to see Boom work. But if I were a betting man, I wouldn't put money on it. I hope I'm wrong, though. I really do hope I'm wrong. To have that experience of flying supersonic, and really, I think not just the supersonic, but being able to fly at 60,000 feet would be incredible as a passenger, just to see what the Earth would look like at that altitude, and to see the blackness of space. You're starting to see that when you get up there and everything like that. That would be just incredible to be able to have the opportunity to fly that high. So I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see it. I hope that the future of aviation is more than just tubes with 2 engines. Speaking of tubes with 2 engines, Southwest with their 737, flight 2887, heading to Denver. I mean, you go back historically, we used to have regular 747 flights out of Cleveland. Back in the 70s. And United, I believe, even operated Cleveland to Chicago O'Hare on a DC-10. Can you imagine that? A flight like that happening today, a wide-body flight from here to Chicago. Today you can do that on an E-175 or a CRJ, and a lot of people do. Let alone a 737 or an A320. As economics have become the norm. You think too, also when Concorde was being developed and the 2707 was being developed, that was before the Airline Deregulation Act. So back in those days, the government not only set the routes, but they also set the fares. And that's part of why Pan Am had such glamorous service back in those days, is because they could afford it, right? The government set the fares. The government also set the routes, so they had limited competition on those routes. They had a law at one point where Pan Am had the international flights, the other airlines had the domestic flights. So the airlines, they had that flexibility and the government support to be able to do that. When the Deregulation Act was signed, the government basically said, hey, you're on your own, you figure out your routes, you figure out your fares. And then airlines like Pan Am, TWA, Eastern, those legendary airlines, from the jet, the glory days of the jet age, weren't able to compete with airlines like Southwest that came in with their low-cost fares. So a different world for Boom, and so it's going to be really interesting to see if they can figure out not just the technical challenges, but the economic challenges of the Overture series aircraft. But I hope they do. I do hope they figure it out. Frontier 3232, 10 minutes out from Las Vegas, A321neo. We have American Eagle 5862 out of Philadelphia. About 7 minutes out. Being followed by a Challenger. Not sure the Challenger's coming in, but I think a Challenger is out there. FedEx is 18 minutes out from Memphis. They're 767.
Southwest 2887, contact 31 Center 135.1.
And again, I don't want to pretend to be an expert or anything like on any of this stuff. I mean, I absolutely could be wrong. A lot of these are just opinions. But we'll see what happens. American Airlines Flight 650, 737 MAX 8 taxiing out for Los Angeles. We got Southwest 1163, should be pushing back for Chicago Midway. Delta 1449 for Minneapolis, and American Eagle 4057 for Miami. So a few of the aircraft we should see pushing back here over the next few minutes.
87, Cleveland Center 135.1.
Even think about from a space flight standpoint. I mean, what, you know, companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin have been able to do to, you know, lower the cost of space flight, you know, to the point where, you know, investment in government rockets like SLS is harder and harder to justify. So economics, when in a profit world, economics wins. Jimmy said, I had a friend that flew on it multiple times. He has a small stack of certificates saying he flew on it. He used to be Bon Jovi's tour manager, flew with him a lot. Wow, that's incredible. I bet your friend has some absolutely incredible stories, not just about flying on the Concorde, but touring with Bon Jovi. I would love to hear some of those stories. Brandon says, I wonder why Airbus never developed a supersonic airliner. Anyone down there in the comments want to fill out why? Because in a way, they did. The company that is Airbus today, a lot of that, I'm not going to say all of it because I probably am probably wrong, but the British government and French government joined forces with their manufacturing companies to develop the Concorde. That partnership is largely what became Airbus. In fact, it was Airbus that ultimately killed the Concorde because they had the operating certificates for it. And Airbus back in 2002, 2003 said that we're not going to support maintaining the Concorde anymore because at that point it was getting old and it had the accident in France and it had some other stuff that was going on, and it was Airbus ultimately that pulled the plug. Probably with some pressure from the French government and Air France especially. But Mike Bannister, British Airways Concorde pilot, there's lots of stuff he's written about the end of Concorde. But yeah, in a way, Airbus did develop a supersonic airliner. It was just before Airbus existed as a company. American 650 heading to Los Angeles, 737 MAX. Got a lot of birds on the field all of a sudden. Seen the Air France Concorde in the Uvar Center at Dulles. Really cool airplane. I know the one in the Museum of Flight you can walk through. I think the one at the Intrepid you can walk through as well. So someday we'll get a chance to do that. The one at the Smithsonian is locked up. But do wish I would have got a chance to fly on it. Polar Bear says, I remember DC-10s from Cleveland to Chicago. Also 767s back on the United days. Can you imagine though, just an airplane that size, flying that route, you know, 45-minute flight. How things have changed. DC-10s used to fly Cleveland to Milwaukee. Unreal, that was Northwest. And Concorde always lost money. It was prestige. Yeah, how did Concorde make money? I mean, the famous story was that they talked to probably people like your friend, you know, people that were booking these flights and saying, hey, how much do you think that these flights cost? And they were probably saying, they were guessing that their company was probably spending a lot more on to book the corporate flights than what they thought. British Airways put the prices up, so the Concorde flight pretty much was, I think, close to like a $10,000, $15,000 round ticket, or one, maybe even one way. Honestly, I could be wrong on that. Flight from JFK to Heathrow. So Concorde made money just because they were the only game in town. If you wanted to get there quickly, you had to pay the money, so they would charge outlandish fares to fly on Concorde. Kind of similar, actually, historically, to what the Germans did with the Zeppelins. So how did the Hindenburg and Graf Zeppelin make money? They charge a lot of money to fly on the Hindenburg and Graf Zeppelin from Germany to Rio or Germany to Lakehurst, New Jersey. But it was either fly the Hindenburg and get there in 2 days, or fly on a ship and get there in 2 weeks. So if you needed that speed, people would do it. Wasn't totally unheard of in the Concorde days for a businessman to have a contract, get on the early morning flight, go overseas, sign a contract, and then take the afternoon or evening flight back. In fact, wasn't it, oh shoot, who was it? My brain isn't working. Wrote the song In the Air Tonight. My brain is not working. Oh my goodness, Phil Collins. Didn't he do a concert in Europe and then a concert in the United States on the same day? I think for Live Aid, and flew Concorde. So if you needed the speed, they were the game in town. Southwest lining up for the runway, heading to Chicago Midway.
30 degrees right.
Just discovered that Braniff, whoop, go back, operated leased Concordes from Dulles to Dallas. That's right, Braniff, I think Braniff did do that. I think Singapore might have done that too once. I feel like there was a Concorde in a Singapore Airlines livery at one point. Famously, a marketing stunt, they had one in the Pepsi livery that was limited on its speed because of the heat of the blue paint. But even though that airplane certainly had its problems with economics, the problem with noise, it also liked to throw the rudder off every once in a while. There's a couple of incidents where the Concorde had a split rudder, and there's a few incidents where the I think it was the top half of the rudder usually fell off in flight. So even though the airplane had its challenges, and of course the tire issues that happened a few times, notably at Dulles back in the 70s, that ultimately led to the accident in Paris in 2000. Even though that airplane had its challenges, it was an absolute technological marvel. You know, an aircraft that people could fly, you know, wearing, you know, normal clothing, not using oxygen mask, not wearing a pressure suit, drinking champagne while traveling 2,000, you know, close to 2,000 miles an hour over the ocean, you know, doing things that, you know, only people that were flying pretty much in the SR-71 was able to do, or high-performance fighter jets. And then they were able to get into an airliner and do it. No training, no special clothing. You know, as a passenger, absolute marvel. And it's something that we don't have, unfortunately, anymore, and I don't know if we'll ever have again, but it'd be great to see it. Air Canada Jazz lining up for departure.
782, contact Cleveland Central 17.9. Cleveland departure, radar contact, traffic 12 o'clock, 1 mile northeastbound, heavy Boeing 767, descending out of 9,000 for 7.
Flight 736 heading back to Toronto for the Jazz E175.
Cleveland Central 135.1.
Might have been a neat shot from the garage. You would have had two of them over there because the Montreal flight is here today as well. Jazz heading out Frontier, taxiing to their gate. Still only a few minutes out from the other 767, the FedEx flight out of Memphis. And then the Tu-144 USSR is answered to the Concorde. Lots of interesting stories on that airplane. A very, very loud airplane. NASA used the Tu-144, I think, for a while for some research. But another neat technological marvel. Tino is here, said, "What's up? Thanks for streaming in the heat." Polar Bear says, "Correct. I just don't think supersonic commercial flight will ever be common. It's easier to put a luxury suite in an A380. Isn't that the truth?" Another airplane, by the way, that never quite lived to its potential. I remember the hype around the A380 when that airplane came out. And while it did go into service, a lot more limited service, I think, than what everyone expected. Tino says, "Correct. Phil Collins made history doing that in '85. Polar Bear said, "I saw a picture of Concorde making a special trip to Cleveland. I think it was '85. You would fly out on Concorde and come back on the QE2. Yeah, they were here at least once, maybe twice. I think back in the 80s. And then I think one was supposed to have been here in 2000 for a charter flight, and after the accident, it never happened. But I've seen some pictures of a British Airways Concorde as well, sitting over there on the pad. I did an April Fool's Day joke last year where a Concorde landed here. It's kind of funny on Instagram, but would have been amazing to see. And Tina said, "I saw it do a flyover at the Cleveland National Air Show in the late 80s or early 90s. To go back. Concorde flyover. I think Air Force One did a flyover at the air show one year. SR-71 did a flyover. All before my time. I had a B-2 do a flyover in Cleveland, I think once. In the 90s or early 2000s. There's one year where the B-1 was at the Cleveland Air Show and landed here. So there's some pictures of the B-1 on the pad here for the air show. I just, again, to go back. I see some of the amazing things that once were far more common. My biggest regret, really, I think, from a spotting standpoint, it was long before I ever really had a camera, long before I started streaming on YouTube. But I wish I would have flown the Dulles back in 2012, 2013, when they were retiring the space shuttles, and they flew the space shuttle Discovery over the mall and then landed at Dulles. I think that's probably my biggest regret. I would absolutely love to have seen that. We were in Florida when I was in high school. We went to the July race in Daytona, the NASCAR race in Daytona. And we were hoping to stay an extra day to see the shuttle, because the shuttle was supposed to have flown the next day, but there was some weather and they scrubbed it. So I never got to see a shuttle fly. So something else I would love to have seen back in the day. FlexJet 335, a maintenance flight lining up for departure. FedEx 361 Heavy over downtown, 767 inbound from Memphis.
64 descend, maintain 4,000.
Aviation will always be cool. The technological marvels that we have with just efficiency and that sort of thing with like the 76 or 777, 787. Those airplanes are cool, but nowhere near as cool as the old airplanes we had in the past. But one thing these modern airplanes have that those older airplanes didn't have is that these modern airplanes are far, far, far safer than those old airplanes that we had. You know, if you go back and read the accident reports and whatnot, you know, it wasn't uncommon for airlines that have multiple crashes in a single year, you know, types that have multiple crashes, you know, some due to pilot error, some due to maintenance issues, some due to weather, just because they didn't understand everything. They didn't have the training. They didn't have the technology that we have today. So while aviation may be a little boring from a photography standpoint today, I'll gladly take the trade-off for safety. It's not perfect, of course, but you know, we could always do better. But I'll gladly take the trade-off for safety. Waiting on the FedEx 767. I can see it behind the trees, so it should be a couple more minutes out. Inbound from Memphis. I said, yes, sir, the SR-71, B-1, B-2 flyovers were all amazing. Maybe one day we'll get a B-21 flyover. That would be incredible. We need the air show to survive whatever happens with Burke. We need the military to open up the training box too. And Congress to open up the training box. The Air Force, I know, was trying to get a huge increase in flying hours for their crews, which really they need. But really, we need that to happen if we want to see some of those airplanes do air shows. It's actually pretty rare to see a B-2 do an air show now, let alone some of the other things. So as far as seeing a B-1, you know, or B-21, I don't know. I thought we might see one in DC a couple of weeks ago, but I guess it was a bit of a pipe dream, but it seemed like Norfolk was kind of teasing it, or Northrop was kind of teasing it. But hopefully we see one someday. Even in the early to mid 90s, there was a major commercial plane crash 1 time per year or more. Yeah. Heck, did US Air have 5 in a period of like 3 or 4 years? Yeah, it definitely wasn't something unheard of back in those days. The American Eagle crash at DCA is absolutely awful as that was last year. It was the first one in, I think, over 15 years. And a lot of complacency and whatnot was the cause of that. You know, with the FAA, the military training, you know, air traffic control shortages, all kinds of stuff. But again, while we're not perfect and there's things we need to fix, I will happily take the trade-off for safety, to have safer flights, safer aircraft, you know, over just stuff that looks cool. Delta 1449 heading to Minneapolis, Airbus A220. It could bring the comfort back a little bit though.
So we will be able to once you're in contact with pilots, we'd like to make those adjustments as well.
As Delta heads out, we got a United 737 MAX taking the runway. Flight 1784. Got some very angry sounding seagulls as well. It's still that natural fear of flying for a lot of people though. I know a lot of people get nervous when they get onto an airplane. I think especially those of us that are a little older that remember the 90s and 2000s, and certainly the, you know, even older than that, if you remember the 60s, 70s, etc. You know, whereas as I think people that are younger, you know, people that, you know, were born in the 2000s or 2010s that, you know, don't have the experience of, you know, commercial aviation accidents quite as much as those of us that are a little older, especially here in the States, or over in Europe. I know some parts of the world they're still more common than others. And of course, there's the you know, some of the major accidents that occurred over the last decade or so. You know, pilot suicide, that sort of thing comes to mind, right? You know, with, I mean, that's one of the things that's believed with that Indian Airlines 787 that crashed, and or Air India crashed. German Wings, of course, is another big one. Malaysia 370. A couple of major accidents that, you know, I think there's a China one as well that happened. You know, some major accidents that occurred, you know, possibly due to, you know, pilots making really, really awful decisions. But I hope we get that B-21 flyover. I'll take a B-2 flyover. I mean, I finally got to see a flyover in DC for the first time in a long time. I'd love to see more as well. You know, especially one at an air show where they fly low or you get to see the top of it and that sort of thing. So hopefully someday. Some of those airplanes you don't see at air shows very often.
35, turn right heading 215,
People say all planes look the same now. It's because they figured out what works best is cost efficient and the safest. Yep, that is true. Engine technology has made huge leaps as well. Another reason why the twins are taking over. Steven is here. How you doing today? Still love my 747. Amen. Love the Queen of the Skies. Glad I saw the Dubai Air Wing 747 the other day. Always love to see the Queen. It's amazing some of the stuff now that's become, you know, really rare that used to be super common, like DC-9s, MD-80s, 727s, 707s. You know, as technology comes in and, you know, replaces stuff, even 757s becoming, you know, harder and harder to see. A300s, A310s, you know, airplanes that used to be very common now when those show up, you get that high priority alert on jet tip and everyone's up here trying to get them. Or, you know, tri-jets like your DC-10s or MD-11s. You know, they're out there, but there's not many of them. I'd love to see the L-1011 someday. That's still flying. It was a treat to see Sam's Purse and NASA's DC-8 last couple of years. But again, airplanes that used to be very common, that are very rare nowadays. Taking a look at our inbound flights, we have a SkyQuest Hawker inbound from Teterboro. Behind that is another inbound business jet.
1784, contact Zero Center 120177. Romeo, maintain the speed of radar to insurance.
Got another business jet inbound. That is amazing too, are loud airplanes. Like you don't see airplanes or hear airplanes that are super loud that much anymore. A lot of your modern jets are very quiet. Got a Flexjet Embraer Praetor coming back from its maintenance flight. And behind that we have a Citation, a Skyway Aviation Citation out of Teterboro. American Eagle 3466 out of Chicago. And Frontier 1492 out of Tampa and Delta 1339 out of Atlanta. Special Livery Illinois 1 got pushed back, due in out 8:21. Hopefully that airplane takes off soon out of BWI. Supposed to be here really about now. Cost officials asking how many planes come in at Cleveland per day. Looking back over the last week, around 350 planes have been coming in per day over the last week. So we'll see how many we get here today. Here's Flexjet. Back from their maintenance flight, very short maintenance flight for these guys.
From Shirk, cross Shirk at 3000, cleared ILS runway 24 approach.
I'd love to go up on one of those flights someday.
3466, contact tower.
Just to go up in a private jet and fly around for a little bit, it'd be pretty neat. I unfortunately am in the wrong tax bracket for that. Frontier is more my tax bracket. I haven't seen any of our Frontier friends in a little bit. Got to know a few of their crew members over the last few years being up here. Haven't ran into anyone in a little bit, so hope everyone's flying safe. Brandon says I went plane spotting at Myrtle Beach and there were only 2 departures and 1 arrival when I went to see them from a mini golf course. Mini golf parking lot in front of the runway. I know a few airports like that. They can be pretty rough. Akron Canton is kind of like that, although it's gotten busier the last couple of years with the expansion of Breeze and Allegiant down there. I know guys that are in the military, like the guys that really are into seeing like fighter jets and that sort of thing, which I think military is really cool. Especially, I think the heavies are cool. I like to see the heavies. I like to see, especially bombers. So seeing like the B-1, the B-2, the B-52, that to me is more exciting than seeing a fighter jet. The E-4 that's in and out of Dayton all the time, you know, is a really cool airplane to see. But I know guys that will go hang around airports that have military bases. You know, around here we got Rickenbacker and we got Toledo. And they'll be up there and they'll be up there for hours and they might see one plane. I'm like, I can't do it. I went up to Drill Week a couple of years ago to see the F-16s, and it was cool. There's a citation out of Teterboro. It was cool, but man, it was boring. It was boring. There's about three and a half hours of standing around and about 5 minutes of excitement. So, yeah, my hat's off to the people that can do it. Love to go out for red flags someday or go to some of the bases like that. I always keep jokingly saying I'm going to go to Missouri and go hang around Whiteman and watch some B-2s, but that's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere for a reason. Tino said, oh yeah, the L-1011 was one of my favorite tri-jets. Yeah, neat airplane, just the one flying now. Would love to see that airplane someday.
Maintain VFR at or below 4,000.
Illinois 1 finally in flight. Excuse me, try not to sneeze. Illinois 1 in flight from DWI showing a 8:21 arrival time, so we'll keep an eye on that. Probably be about the last airplane of the day, because we'll start getting shorter and shorter daylight here. We'll try to catch that one for you. We got the United Retrojet that should be heading out as well.
Hopkins, 2,800.
American Eagle inbound from Chicago O'Hare. Envoy flight. Frontier 1492, only a few minutes out from Tampa. We have Delta inbound from Atlanta.
1492, turn right heading 020, expect visual approach.
Looks like a United 737 is getting ready to push back over on their side of the airport over at the Charlie gates. Actually, I see the United Retrojet in the background is pushing back. So a couple of special liveries there. You got the United Retro A320 on the left, and you got the Star Alliance livery on the right. I think the Star Alliance livery is here for maintenance, so I don't think we're going to see that one leave today. But we will see the Retrojet here in the next few minutes. Frontier 1492 is 7 minutes out from Tampa. We have a Delta 1339 as well. Because we might have a NetJet citation out of CMH. Looks like that might be heading our way. Might also be heading over to County Airport. We'll keep an eye on it. American 1687 out of Dallas Fort Worth is also about 12 minutes out.
At 9:34, County Airport, 11 o'clock, and 10 miles, 46.
Southwest Flight 30 out of Las Vegas is 20 minutes out. Frontier 94R57 is 25 minutes out from Fort Lauderdale. 45 minutes out is Flight 4036 out of Atlanta for Frontier. Southwest Flight 862 out of BWI. It's the Illinois 1 special livery is about 40 minutes out. Southwest 4153 just took off out of Midway. They're 40 minutes out. United 2652 out of Chicago O'Hare is 45 minutes out. So a few of the arrivals we should see over the next little bit.
Main 39, turn right heading 020, descend maintain 4,000.
Don't see anything populated from a military standpoint.
998, identified under contact 3 miles, southeast gate airport passenger 3,200, advise 1 minute flight.
It's like I picked a good time to come up to the airport. I got a text from my wife saying, whatever you do, don't shower. Sounds like she was giving our little one a bath, and you can fill in the blank. Ew. Of course, that virus is going, or that parasite's going around right now. So hopefully everyone stays healthy and keeps your you-know-what together. Derek says, I was on an Eastern Airlines L1011 a week after Flight 411 crashed in the Everglades in the late 72, early 73. Well, that would have been nerve-wracking. Glad you made it back safely. Jeff is here today. Tino said we don't really have enough military traffic in Ohio to do that. We do at times. I think they do drill week. I think it's the last weekend of the month up in Toledo, so I know people will go up there for that. Wright-Patterson gets a decent amount of traffic. Not a lot of great spots down there, but they get a decent amount of traffic, usually the day after I'm down at the Air Force Museum. Trying to catch that E4 for years. I've seen it, but trying to get some good footage of it. But yeah, it's those people to do it are a lot more patient than I am. They got the KC-135s down at Rickenbacker that are pretty cool to see. They get some randomly some good stuff. Pittsburgh gets some good stuff as well. Derek says a Lufthansa DC-10 between Ecuador and New York made an unplanned stop in Jamaica. Wind shear, tray tables down, everything on the ceiling. Whew. Had the American DC-10 that had the cabin door open up in flight, made the emergency landing in Detroit as well back in those days. Here's the United Retro. Speaking of retro, the Friendship Retro taxiing out. American Eagle passing in front of them. United is flight 1084 on their way to Chicago. Brandon's asking, have you checked out the classic plane spotting videos from runway action by Just Planes? Like, yeah, I have many times. I think he has a video from Cleveland on there. Neat to see that stuff for sure. I remember I grew up in the 90s, and my grandparents would take me to the airport. I remember going to Columbus and seeing all the US Air 737s down there.
115, vector 3, descend to maintain 4,000.
Zach is here. Brandon's asking, you wonder why Airbus never made the A330 a tri-jet or a tri-jet period? Probably just didn't economically make sense for them when they were making airplanes. I mean, they came along in the game a little bit later when a lot of those tri-jets were kind of going away. I mean, they had their first airplane was the A330. You know, a large twin. So really, when they came into the game, the twins are already starting to take over. Of course, Boeing, one of the original concepts for the 777 was a tri-jet, if I'm not mistaken. It's a pretty airplane, especially in the light. The Friendship Retro heading to Chicago. Frontier's inbound. We're going to stay with the Retro. As it taxis out for Chicago. United over the last year has added a lot of A320s to their routes up here. We used to pretty much be only 737s. So this airplane was one that we never used to really see up here. We got to see it a few times over the summer. It's been great to see it.
Radar contact 5 miles northeast of McKinney Airport at 3,400 India Hopkins. Upstairs with an approach to the altimeter 29908, maintain VFR 5,500, stage for Bravo 6. Descend and maintain 4,000. Runway heading 215, intercept the localizer.
United Friendship Retro heading out. Delta push you back from their gate. Flight, I think it's 1350. I think it was a flight number. Should be heading back to Atlanta soon. Delta 1339 on final from Atlanta. Southwest 30 out of Las Vegas as well. For you 737 lovers out there, a couple of 737s inbound.
That's 310 miles from Shirk, cleared ILS, ready for approach.
I want to thank everyone for your support tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We're live from Cleveland Hopkins International Airport on a 90-degree evening here in Northeast Ohio. Checking out some of the aircraft today. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button down below. It helps the channel fight the YouTube algorithm. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. If you've been here through the entire 5-year journey or somewhere in between, thank you so much for your support. It really does mean a lot. Lots of stuff going on in the next few weeks with some air shows and some other events. So love to see you guys at some of those events. Got heavy jets coming in here pretty soon as we get closer to the NFL season. Wonder what would have happened if not only United stuck to its original livery, but American used the US Airways livery. Petition to go back to the US Air livery. I do wish American kept their classic livery. Understanding, of course, why they moved on from it, but I still think that red, white, and blue with the chrome American livery is maybe the greatest livery ever. US Airs was okay. I like the blue more than the white. But I really miss their bare metal from when I grew up in the early 90s. I remember seeing those bare metal blue tail US air jets. I don't have the best history, but I do remember seeing, I do miss seeing those. Those are pretty neat. I do wish United would go back to a United livery though. Instead of the Continental, mostly the Continental livery. I mean, we've certainly had a great history with Continental up here in Cleveland. And I do like to see the merger liveries, the one with the gold globe on the tail, but kind of wish United would have gone back to the tulip or something more that screams United instead of Continental. But hey, they're making money, and it's a great airline to fly, and I guess it could be worse. This livery, though, I still just am not a fan of it. In the right lighting, it's okay. On the right jet, it's okay. But still not a huge fan of what we call the new American livery now. That is, what, at least 10 years old? This look's been around for a little bit now. Southwest Heart livery's been around for a little bit too. But American is the best when it comes to retro livery, so I'm glad they keep those around. Haven't seen the United Stars and Bars livery up here in Cleveland yet, which is a surprise, being a 737 crew base, 737 maintenance base for United. Usually we see the United liveries quite a bit. The Star Alliance liveries here all the time. The Star Wars livery used to be here all the time when United still had that. We haven't had the Stars and Bars livery here yet. We had it in Columbus, but we haven't had it up here yet. So hopefully we see that here at some point soon. American on their way out. And Delta's inbound.
Charlie, contact Buffalo code 12110.
So as American heads out behind the building, we're going to go pick up Southwest. Southwest got ahead of Delta. Southwest Flight 30 inbound from Las Vegas. There you go. One inbound, one outbound. Southwest touching down, American rotating for departure.
Altitude 2,300. I'm not talking still. Affirmative over 50 passengers. The current posting process west of the field, maybe University 1 helicopter.
So you're talking about a university helicopter? I guess Delta already landed. I'm losing my mind. University helicopter not talking to the tower on the west side of the field? Yikes.
5 Papa Cleveland approach. Identify and maintain 14,000.
I was trying to catch the name of the American flight before you got the other American inbound. 1682 inbound from Dallas.
Roger, to maintain 3,000, expect direct check. Team 79, moving to first year. mile, southwestbound altitude, cadence 2,400. There, and then we'll call it, get you a build-up time close to you. 905 Papa, turn right direct to Vaughn.
Private jet, I think it's a Falcon. The Falcon that I believe is owned by Jimmy Haslam and the pilot group, 595 Papa. Told to fly direct to LeBron, one of the waypoints. Where do you guys think LeBron is going to sign? Is he coming back here to Cleveland? Is he going to Golden State? Is he going to Philadelphia or Miami or somewhere else? What do you guys think down below?
Flight 94.7, turn left direct shark. And 16th of an exit, you're flying 6,000 for traffic.
Delta 737 rolling to the gate. The other one should be pushing back soon for the flight heading back to Atlanta. Take a look at our inbound flights. Frontier 9457 over downtown turning final. A321 out of Fort Lauderdale is Jimmy Haslam's Falcon that just took off.
Flight 9457, 5 miles from Shirk, cross Shirk at 3000, for the ILS and receive the rest of it. Are you able to see the field now, or is there a gateway or something? Next floor 57, Roger, cross 6.5 DME at above 3,000, third business first runway 24 ready.
United should have gone back to the original. Well, what do you consider the original, though? They had the livery before that Friendship livery, the one that had the blue, the blue with the white United titles. I wish they'd go back to the orange tulip, the Saul Bass livery, but I know that'll never happen. The modern day Evo blue is okay, but to me, I still see Continental. Those TWA Eastern Pan Am liveries from the 80s are nice. I'm dating myself. Still love to see those. The TWA Retro is great when that's flying around. Seeing Pan Am in New York last year was awesome. They did have some absolutely fantastic classic liveries back in those days. The Continental Flying Meatball is not the best to me. I can understand that for sure. It's what I remember growing up. This was a Continental hub here for many years, and so we saw regional aircraft, we saw narrow bodies, we saw wide bodies with that golden globe on the back. So that's what I remember growing up. I remember when the hangar back there said Continental. Of course, it still does if you look closely. Like if you look closely enough, I don't know how well it'll come up in the light tonight, but it still says Continental up there if you can see it. But that's what I grew up, so I remember, I really like that livery. I still enjoy seeing it when the merger livery aircraft come in. But I can understand why it's not your favorite. The livery before that, with like the orange and gold, was pretty cool. Honestly, I've been missing the flying bananas. Me too, I miss the flying bananas, especially the Neos with the black eyeliner around the windows. I miss seeing them, I miss flying them. They were great for a low-cost day trip. I made it a point to go up to Detroit a few times when the end was near and when they went under to try to catch as many of them as I could before they were gone. But I miss seeing them too. Feel bad for the people that lost their jobs. I was up here filming a couple of weeks ago, and there was a guy up here who said his son was a Spirit pilot who is still looking for a job. So hopefully, he said he had an interview with Delta. So hopefully he was able to get that position with Delta. But I feel bad for all those who lost their jobs with Spirit. I miss seeing them. Definitely watching the documentaries and whatnot. The one that that they put out there for Nomadic on Spirit. Clearly, it was a great company. It was a lot of great people, and it's a shame. Brandon's flying circus colors were pretty cool. Yeah, they were. Even the old Southwest liveries, the Desert Gold especially. I hated that when I was a kid. Now I absolutely love to see it. Sandra is here today, says hello from hot and humid South Georgia. Well, hope you're staying cool down there. Hello from hot and humid Cleveland, although I'm sure we're not as hot as you are. The Southeast, man, it gets pretty brutal sometimes in the summer. Dee is here as well, says hi from Dean in Brook Park. Hope you're doing well today. Brandon says, I wonder why Delta doesn't do any of its planes in the retro livery. I wish they would. They'd have some great ones. Not just some of the Delta liveries, which are fantastic back in the day, but the Northwest liveries as well. Pan Am as well, but that branding is still owned by Pan Am. There's Frontier. 9457 out of Fort Lauderdale. Cubby the Bear on the A321. Hated that mustard, brown, gold, whatever you want to call it, for Southwest back in the day. Hated that livery when I was a kid. But now the gold retro is one of my favorites, so funny how things change. LeBron is going to keep us all waiting as usual. Probably right. LeBron would go to whoever pays the most. I don't know who that is. He says he's not out chasing rings, which I don't really believe. But we'll see. I think he should come back here where he started, but we'll see. I don't think he's a missing piece to take the Cavs to a championship, though. Matt is here, says heading to Seattle on Labor Day. Thank you for the $2 super chat. It really does mean a lot. Hope you have a great trip to Seattle. Incredibly beautiful up there. I hope you have a great time. I didn't go to Aero Expo last week when it was up in Seattle. Really wish I was able to go. And I just saw the pictures that people were getting of the jets landing in front of the mountain. Oh my goodness. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful up there. I haven't been to Seattle, but I've been to Portland, and that was pretty too. So I hope you have a great time. You're gonna miss the air show though. But I hope you have a great time up there. Hope you get a chance to go to the Museum of Flight. One of the guys who spots up here went to the Aero Expo show in Seattle, and the 777X was flying when he was there. I'm like, oh man, the 777X prototype with the Boeing house livery. Like, oh, that would have been cool. I went to DC, so that was my budget, but would have been neat. Chris is here asking, how you doing today? Well, I'm doing pretty well. A little warm today, but trying my best to hang in there. Hope you're doing well today. Susie is here from Akron. Hope you're doing well today. Home on the blimp. Got two Goodyear blimps in town. Wingfoot 1 and Wingfoot 3 came in a couple of weeks ago from LA, as it should be in the hangar. Excuse me, getting its annual. So should see both of them flying soon. I think both of them are supposed to be at Oshkosh, which is next weekend, I think. So hopefully we'll see the two airships flying. Joe's asking, what did UPS 1441 switch from the 757 to the 767 starting June 1st? Saw they used the Airbus the other day. Yeah, they're all over the place. They were using the 7.5 for a little bit. It used to always be the 7.6. But then it went to the 7.5s pretty much every day, and then now I'm back to the 7.6. Every once in a while we'll see the Airbus. I miss the MD-11s, but we'll never see those again. For good reason, but I do miss the MD-11s. We would see those every once in a while. They'd sub an MD-11 out, and they'd bring everyone out here to come check them out. Tino's asking, you ever been to Aviation Nation in Vegas? And I have not. Show I'd love to go to. I want to go to Vegas for Red Flag. Probably one of like either the January one or the March one, whichever one ends up getting the bombers. I'd love to go out there to see that, but I've actually never been to Vegas. Vegas is one of the places I want to go just to do some plane spotting and see the military stuff out at Nellis and the Janet flights out of LAS, and hopefully someday we'll get out there to see them. Chris says, I swear, when are they going to officially launch the 777X? It's supposed to be in 2020, now they're saying 2027. Yeah, that program has a typical Boeing right now. I saw the Starliner, their space capsule. NASA said they're going to push their estimated entry of service for Starliner back another year. It's just like, man, that's just how Boeing has been lately. The KC-46 program, the 737 MAX program, that's still waiting on the MAX 7 and MAX 10 to go into service. And that honestly is ridiculous at this point, that those two airplanes aren't in service yet. And the 777X as well. I mean, I think we're at, what, 13 years on the 777X, so hopefully soon. Wingfoot 1 and 3 are in Akron. Hopefully we'll see them flying together here at some point. United Express and E-175 lining up for departure. That'll be flight 3433 on its way back to Washington Dulles. Don't see anything too close inbound. Southwest 4153 is 13 minutes out from Midway. Why is there a baggage loader by the main door in that Delta? Oh, not sure. It could be something going on over there. The one on the left just came in a few minutes ago. The one on the right behind the Embraer should be pushing back soon. Red Flag would be cool too. I haven't seen either. There's a bunch of shows I'd like to go to. Miami is probably the top bucket list show for me. That's always an amazing show. They get some amazing stuff down there. Of course, love to get back to Oshkosh. A lot of great shows out there. Wings over Houston I might try to go to later this year. Is probably really going to be the only chance to see the F4 fly. NASA's supposed to fly some stuff for that show. I saw United is sending a 777 to that show. So that might be a good show to go to. And Kennedy Space Center is going to have a couple. There's supposed to be a flyover at the end of the month that they said is supposed to be NASA aircraft. Really curious to see what that's going to be. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. And then they have an air show at Kennedy Space Center in November. So may consider going to that one. We'll have to wait and see. Depends on money and everything goes, of course. Right now I'm eating Easy Mac and ramen, so probably not going to happen, but would love to. Kind of depends on what ends up going to those shows. If they get something like the WB-57 or something like that, it might be worth the trip, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Cleveland announced a couple of performers that we kind of already knew about. A lot of heavies at the Cleveland Air Show this year. They announced the KC-135, the KC-46, and the C-17 flyovers today for the Cleveland Air Show Labor Day weekend. So lots of heavies. And unless things have changed, I talked to the C5, a couple of the C5 guys that I know, and they said they're still planning on bringing a C5 as a static display, so good year if you like heavy military at the Cleveland Air Show. Youngstown sending a C-130. The Navy will be sending a C-130. Marines will be sending a C-130 as well. One that they call Ernie, the backup for the Blue Angels, since Fat Albert is in the UK getting a new wing box put on. A good year for the heavies and the cargo transporters at the Cleveland Air Show. We should see pretty much most of them. Be cool if they could pull off like an RC-135 or the E4 would be incredible, or even an E3 or something like that. They could pull something like that off. Or a bomber. I ask for a bomber every year. That's always my request. Probably won't happen though. United Express is cleared for takeoff. A few more inbound flights. United 2652 out of Chicago. Southwest 4153 out of Chicago Midway. Southwest 862, another special livery. Illinois 1 is 15 minutes out from Baltimore. And then Frontier 4036 out of Atlanta, about 20 minutes out. So we'll probably wrap up with those aircraft here in about 20 minutes. After that, it'll be getting dark soon, and got to get home, get the little guy to bed, and get ready to work tomorrow. United Express on their way to Dulles. Chantilly, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C.
055 to maintain
May stream again tomorrow night. We'll see what the weather does. We're supposed to start getting that wildfire smoke from Canada tomorrow, so we'll see how bad it gets. I need to mow my grass as well, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. Friday, haven't decided yet. Usually I try to get up here Friday night to do live streams. We may go to Thunder over Michigan Friday. I have to kind of look to see at the schedule. Try to get up there this weekend. Again, it really depends on the weather. Hopefully that smoke doesn't come down and make too much of an impact. And more importantly, hopefully the firefighter is able to get those fires put out, save as much property and lives as they can, and keep themselves safe. It's been another hot weekend up here in the Midwest. The United Star Alliance livery sitting over there for outside the maintenance hangar. Our 737-800.
Is back into a ground delay program, and your time 0215.
A little bit of weather north of Detroit. Don't know if it'll cause any issues there. I don't think there's really anything too crazy coming in at this point. A little bit of weather north of Detroit. Chance we may see some weather here this evening. Matt says, go to Vegas. It's awesome. That's one I think I could talk my wife into. I don't know if she'd want to go for a Red Flag or something like that, but I know she'd like to go to check out some of the shows and whatnot. But for me, I just need to make that happen someday. We got enough nonstops here out of Cleveland heading to Vegas that really just need to make it happen someday. The problem is this year they've canceled red flag. I think all 3 red flags so far have been canceled this year. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next year. Chris is asking, any other airlines heading to Oshkosh? I know there's a few that are heading up. Delta's sending one of their Team USA liveries. Southwest is sending Independence 1, which will be really cool for you guys to get to see that. American, I think, is sending Flagship Valor. I think Gridiron Air, the Arizona Cardinals 777 is supposed to be there one day. At least one day. I think a 737 BBJ will be there. Might be 1 or 2 more, but I think those ones are supposed to be there for sure. Some classic ones will be there. You'll see lots of DC-3s, I'm sure. The C-54 is on their way up there, so that's a DC-4 technically. The Flying Bulls took their DC-6, so a really rare catch for you if you get to see that. I think the Constellation will be there. So a decent amount of classic and modern airliners should be at that show. So hope you have, if you're going to Oshkosh, hope you have a great time. Tino says, yep, would love to see a B-1 flyby. Amen. I saw one in DC, the weather came in and I wasn't able to stick around to see the burner pass. If you're going to Oshkosh though, I think a B-1 is supposed to be there. Depending on what happens with the war and everything. American Eagle 5132 lining up, heading back to DCA. CRJ. If you have to fly in a regional aircraft, the E-175 is a pretty nice ride. These, not so much. Still cool to see though. I like to film CRJs, especially on windy days. They seem like they don't deal with the wind very well, at least compared to some of their other aircraft that are out there. So they're kind of fun to watch on a windy day. Pilots do a great job getting those things down sometimes. Frontier sitting on the ramp over there. Tino, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Chris is asking, why is there United just sitting there? It's probably here for maintenance. So it'll probably, I don't know if it was in the hangar and they just haven't moved it to a gate yet, or if they're going to move it to the hangar, but it's probably here for maintenance. We have a maintenance base here for United for their 737 fleet. So we see a lot of 737s come through, which is why I was saying earlier, we haven't seen the Stars and Bars livery yet up here, and so I'm surprised we haven't seen that yet. But we're a maintenance base, a flight attendant base, and a pilot base for United. No longer have the hub, but we do still have the base here for the 737. NASA Glenn's hangar is up for lease, and there was a rumor that United might be interested in leasing it, but I thought I heard that fell through, but don't know for sure. Maybe United takes that over and does more maintenance up here at some point. You never know. Southwest.
Tower 12.5, have a good one.
I'm sure they'll either put it away or they'll move it over to a gate. There's another United in the background. You might see it. It's aircraft here for maintenance.
One more time. 36, thanks. I appreciate that.
United 2652 on final from Chicago O'Hare, 737 MAX 9, and followed by Southwest Flight 862. It's a special livery, Illinois 1, inbound from Baltimore, Washington, BWI. Construction is underway as well. So they are working on the new gold lot that they're building where the unused Concourse Delta used to be. So lots of construction over there. They're also tearing down the old cargo buildings along Cargo Road. So lots of construction going on as we move through the modernization project that's going on. 2032 is the expected end of phase 1, which will be the new parking garage, new parking lots, the new ground transportation hub, and the new terminal head house. That tower you see in the foreground, the old control tower, will be torn down as we get closer to that construction project. While Quan is here, says you see the Dubai Air Wing Royal Flight land. Also, I'm getting a new camera. I missed it landing this time. It came in around 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning or so. I didn't really feel like coming up here that early to catch it. I've seen it land a bunch of times. I did catch it taking off though. So I posted the video, I think yesterday or the day before the departure. Beautiful 7 o'clock golden hour departure for the Dubai Air Wing. They were only here for a little over a day this time, and we'll see when they come back. It's been about 6 months to the day of their last visit. So assuming whoever's on board was probably here for their medical appointments. So not sure if it'll be another 6 months or if we'll see it before then, but if I do, make sure you're following me on Instagram, and if I find out, I'll make sure to post it on there. I'll let you know when that's coming in if I find out. Illinois 1 inbound from Baltimore. Definitely one of the coolest Southwest state liveries. A couple of Southwest making their way in. That means the other one should be pushing back fairly soon. Chris says, I remember when I flew into Cleveland from Cancun and the security checkpoint is the worst. One lane and one baggage thing. We were standing in line for at least 45 minutes. Yeah, it's pretty, it can be pretty gross sometimes, especially if you time it wrong. And I'm sure going through customs with Cancun, that could not have been fun. Things they hope to fix with the new terminal, so hopefully that'll get smoother as we go forward. Definitely one of the big hang-ups for more international flights, the lack of checkpoints for customs. They did open up the central checkpoint for security, so it is a little better than what it was. But yeah, going through TSA here is never fun. Scott's asking, have you ever seen a plane land on runway 1028? And the answer is yeah, many times. I got a few videos, a bunch of videos actually out there of planes on 10 and 28. This is a great spot because they usually are coming right at you. They're coming in on 28. I only really see it on windy days. We see it during the air show sometimes. We'll bring them in that way, but we don't see 10-28 that often. It's up here one time when a FedEx 767 took 28. That's pretty cool. So first time seeing Dubai 1, left around 7 a.m. and saw it. It was pretty cool. It definitely, really cool to see that airplane. A couple years ago, we had 2 of them come in, and they were sitting over there. It was around the Pro Football Hall of Fame week, so we had 2 747s, and we had a United 777 sitting over there at one point. That was pretty wild. I remember we had another time when the Qatar Emiri flight was here, and so we had the Qatar A340 next to the 747. It's like, wow, where am I right now? Full house of Southwest tonight, B10, B9, and probably B11. Yeah, they picked up service a little bit up here this year, which has been good to see. Be starting flights to Dallas Love here in a few more weeks. Remember they used 10-28 that one day when it was raining and cloudy when the Browns played the Dolphins. Yeah, I think I was up here for that. Get those windy days. That's usually when you see it. Private jets sometimes will take it. NASA used to take it quite a bit because it would end basically at their hangar. So they just roll all the way to the end, get off the runway, and they were basically pulling into their hangar over there. So you used to see NASA do it quite a bit. Frontier 4036 inbound from Atlanta. American Eagle taking the runway. The ERJ heading to Philadelphia. ERJ 145. So as that goes behind the building, we're going to pick up the inbound flight, the Frontier, out of Atlanta. Frontier base is moving along tonight. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight from Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. Got to head home, help the wife get the little one to bed. We'll go back here, a couple more comments. I don't like the parking garage up here. I do the parking garage for live streams every once in a while, but it's pretty far away from the runway. It's good for gate shots, so I'll run over, get pictures of like Alaska or JetBlue at the gate, but it's not my favorite spot. Aviator Restaurant's the main spot for most people, so that's probably the better spot, but a couple other places around the airport as well. Chris says, I swear Cleveland is getting a bit busier. Yeah, it is. We did 10 million passengers last year and on pace to exceed that this year. So Frontier has their new base here that opened a couple of years ago, and things are picking up. This is the most flights that United has had out of Cleveland since the hub closed. I think it's 40 flights daily on United, and American is growing here too, and they're pretty close to that. So things are picking up here a little bit, which has been great to see. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. You gotta head home, help the wife get the little one to bed, give her a little bit of a break, and get ready to go to bed myself. Gotta get up to go to work tomorrow. We may live stream again tomorrow night. We'll have to kind of wait and see what the weather does. Also wait and see what's coming in. We're supposed to see that smoke, so that's kind of going to determine, I think, if we end up coming up the next couple of days or what kind of we end up doing. If not, we'll try to get up here Friday night to do the Friday night stream. Hoping to go to Michigan for Thunder over Michigan this weekend as well. Kind of depends on the weather. May go to Toledo as well to see the warbirds. We'll have to wait and see. But lots of stuff going on over the next few weeks. Thank you guys all so much for your support. It really does mean a lot. Thank you for the super chats tonight. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button down below. If you really like it, hit that subscribe button as well. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean a lot. Thank you guys all so much for your support. It really does mean a lot. Hoping to get up here again on tomorrow night or Friday night to do another stream for you. Hope everyone stays safe, stay healthy. Avoid the diarrhea virus, the parasite. Stay cool as it warms up. And follow me here on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch at Nick Flies Media. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and we'll catch you next time from Cleveland Hopkins International.